Hello, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to log into these training modules. These modules, we're going to go over maybe half a dozen different topics here, and each one of these we're maybe just going to spend about 5 minutes on. So what I would recommend is before you watch this, watch the 45-minute boot camp training that we did as well. It's another recording, but it just kind of takes you through A to Z from maybe a more broad stroke, okay, maybe like a 5,000-foot view. And today what I'm going to do is just go a little more in depth into those 5 or 6 topics that I think will help you once you start running these appointments. But that original webinar goes through how the appointment's generated, kind of takes you through a road to a sale, the things you're going to find in the schools. I'm going to repeat some of that in these training modules, but I think between these modules and that 45-minute boot camp training, you really should, short of just running the appointments and learning by trial and error, and your closing percentage should definitely increase. So I appreciate you taking the time. The first module we're going to go through is just etiquette on campus, and I think this how things that you do and don't do on campus. And number one, I have it number 6 on the list here, but it should just probably be number 1 is use common sense, right? It's starting at the top is obey the rules. I think that's one of the reasons that these relationships in the schools is so fragile, is because guys have just, guys and gals and people that have been on, representing the carriers, and they go in there with a payroll slot and kind of think they own the place. And they've really made it challenging for people that really want to go on there, help the teachers and produce a career in the schools. So number 1 is just obey the rules. Always check in at the front office. You don't have to do that at the end of school, but I like to be seen. I like to be seen on campus. And, one of these modules that I'll do a little later is how to form a relationship in the district. And one of those is just be seen. Every time I'm on campus, I'm popping in. I know the secretary and all the office staff. I know their names, and I know the principal and the assistant principals, and get to the point where the counselors and all the people that work in that office. So when you're walking through, you can talk to people by name. And even if I show up, if the final bell's at 3 o'clock and I have maybe a 3:10 or 3:15 appointment, even I get to the school at 3:05, I'll usually poke my head in and let them know who I'm going to see, even though I don't need a visitor's badge since school's out. Next one is be on time. And again, I know for some of you, I'm stating the obvious here, right? But it is so important that you're on time when you're working in the school system, because a lot of times your appointment, the teacher has maybe a 15, or the employee, it might even be a janitor or a lunch lady or the counselor. So they might have that 10 or 15-minute window that they scheduled to meet with you. And if you show up 5 minutes late, a lot of times you don't have time or to finish the appointment, or maybe even run the appointment altogether. I probably, after I'm going through this, I would probably change that to say be 5 minutes early, because you do have to go. You have to go check in at the front desk. Sometimes if it's on someone's prep period, you might get there at a junior high or high school, and all of a sudden the bell rings and you're caught out in the hallway with 500 kids. You're trying to make your way through, and just kind of plan for that. Always be on time. If not, be a little early, so that I don't mind going to their classroom and having to stand outside the door for 3 or 4 minutes rather than be late. Again, campus etiquette. These are things that are going to help make your job easier, and when you're trying to navigate around on campus and figure this out. Have a reason to be there. We're going to talk in another module about getting more appointments and how to door knock and how to make contacts with people when you're on campus. But if you just show up to campus, which again is not a big deal. We're on the approved vendor list, so you're able to go on campus. But if you go and try and generate appointments or talk to people and try and advertise a pinch and review, they don't like that. You need to have a reason to be there. So, I'll go to such and such a school and I'll have an appointment with Mrs. Jones. Well, I may go 15 minutes early and stay 15 minutes late trying to generate other activity. But if anybody asks, hey, can I help you? You kind of walking around the hall. Can I give you directions? I have an appointment with Mrs. Jones. Yeah, I need directions to her classroom. Always have a reason to be there. Number 5, and again, some of these are, I'm a little, some of the other agents are like, oh yeah, I use the bathrooms. Look, guys, I like to overdo it a little bit. And I've run these appointments for years and from East Coast to West Coast, and I've been very successful in this market. And it's because I overdo it a little bit. I'm there early. I don't use the bathrooms. I'm not going to be in the elementary school and go into the bathroom. You just have to be careful about the way you act in there. I don't even like to do the staff restroom. I just go before I get to the school. But if if emergency strikes, use the staff restroom. Number 7, don't ever be argumentative. If somebody says, oh, I let me check and make sure, let me call the district and make sure you're approved to be here. Whenever it escalates, oh, you know what, I have a right to be here. Of course, I'm on, you lose either way. It always just stay positive, stay friendly. Again, obey the rules. The principle. Now, again, I say obey the rules, but I'm not saying don't put forth the effort. Don't kind of push the envelope. There's some schools, even though you're on the approved vendor list for the district, the principal is the one who decides when you can and can't be on campus. And sometimes they say, hey, during contract hours, we don't allow anybody on campus. And so you have to come either before or after school. Sometimes that does not include lunch. The teacher might have a half-hour lunch that's not included in contract hours. So if we have an appointment and the teacher scheduled it at, say, 10:30, well, we're just going to assume that it's okay for us to be there. And so, again, I'm not telling you to go into the office and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm able to run the appointment. Sometimes in cases like that, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. But usually when you show up, the teacher would not have scheduled that appointment, or the employee would not have scheduled that appointment for a time that you couldn't be on campus. And you'll realize the more times you visit the same campus, the more, the more reins they give you. So obey the rules, but again, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission as far as, showing up for an appointment and even running the appointment. I've done it before where I've ran a handful of appointments during the day and then found out later that I wasn't supposed to be running those appointments at those times. But at that point, I have such a relationship with the office staff and usually the principal or assistant principal that I'm able to just continue to run those appointments. So, guys, again, I know this was about 5 or 6 minutes on campus etiquette, but hopefully that just gives you an idea of the do's and don'ts. Don't ever go in the back door of the school and bypass the district office. One of the reasons this works so well and that we're able to develop these relationships is because we do things the right way. And this is such a phenomenal market that you've got to be able to do everything up front. So, guys, that's the module on campus etiquette. Okay, so now we're going to do the module on the state pension. And I realize that people that are watching this and listening to this module are all over the country. And so every state has a different state pension. And this is a module that, as I was telling the guys, this is one that's almost impossible to train on because every state is different. And it ultimately, the ball lands in your court to figure out how your state pension works. I can kind of point you in the right direction. As far as, where you can find out that information, like on the screen here, it says contact the state pension. I like to call them and just say, hey, I'm a financial planner and I have a client that's a teacher and I'm getting ready to sit down with her and, kind of go over her retirement picture. And can you give me some quick information on the pension? And they'll go through and they'll tell you how to calculate the pension, how much the client's actually going to get when they retire. They won't be able to give you any client specific information, but they can give you some information as a whole. And usually they're extremely friendly, very helpful. And then you can even ask, say, is there an online calculator, or is there maybe somewhere where I can get some more? Can you email me some information, a little more about the pension? I have more and more clients, it seems, that are, teachers or state employees. And so I'd love to be able to sound educated about their pension, and they're great. They love when people are helping their employees understand the pension. Another thing you can do, a lot of the carriers that we work with that are 403B carriers, like National Life Group, or, to throw them out there, you can contact the carrier. A lot of times they have state-specific brochures on the pension for that state. And it's kind of a 403B brochure, but it talks about, how the pension works and the different tiers for each state. I mean, I've seen one for Texas. I've seen the one for Utah. And it goes through and talks about the income gap, frequently asked questions about the pension. And so you can call the carrier, and a lot of times they will be able to give you like a 403B/pension brochure. So another question that's come up is, well, what can I do with the pension? Okay. And again, every state is a little different on how the pension works. But look, usually you can't do anything with the pension. The teacher or the employee is, required to pay money in. The majority of time, it's contributory plan. There's a few states in the country that's non-contributory, so they have a pension that they're not paying into. But either way, you can't do anything with the pension. If the person is in the district they're working at, they have a pension, or in that state, you can't do anything with it. What you can do is, in some states that where the employee is maybe putting some extra money in above and beyond what they're supposed to, then when you point out that income gap, you can obviously stop that contribution into the state plan and put it into a 403B. Many times you'll sit down with an employee who worked in a school district in another state. And so those are tremendous rollovers and transfers, because there's that money, even if they just worked a handful of years, that's usually a pretty large balance. So if it's a current pension that they're working at in their state, you can't roll that pension, but you can obviously stop any of the voluntary contributions and reroute those into a plan that you want to sell. You'll see on number 4B, plot partial lump sum options. So a lot of times, there's some states that actually allow people when they're retired, as soon as they retire, they can take a partial lump sum option of their pension. So they can take a certain percentage and roll it into a different plan if they want to. And look, that's a tremendous thing. I know agents who literally form their entire career, meeting with teachers who have recently retired in states that allow a lump sum option, and they do a ton of transfers that way. So again, on the state pension, just do a little bit of research. I am going to go through a first appointment in one of these modules here, and you'll kind of see how I go through a state pension with somebody. And I'm going to do it in the state of Utah because that's where I live. So, but every state is different. You just got to do a little homework on that. But what you can and can't do with the pension, if it's active in their state, you can't roll the money, but you can obviously stop contributions that are voluntary and reroute those. But as soon as somebody retires, then they might have a partial lump sum option. So guys, that was the pension, the state pension module. Okay, the next module is getting referrals. And that was emailed over to me in the list of modules that they wanted done. And, generating referrals, getting referrals, I also kind of take that to mean just getting more activity as a whole, right? So, the appointment that I get through Pera gets me on campus. And yeah, I'm going to sell that probably 80% of the time, but that's not all the business that appointment is going to generate for me. I'm going to be, the most important thing I get from that Pera appointment is now I'm on campus. Now they see my face. I have access to another 100 plus employees all in one building, and I just have to do it the right way. I've met with many agents who have been on campus and literally been kicked off because they don't do it the right way. And so I'm gonna talk about that. As far as just getting referrals from the actual Pera appointment, first of all, you got to do a good job, right? If they feel like they got value out of meeting with you, whether they did business or not, plenty of times I've gotten actual referrals from people, from employees at the district that I didn't even write any business on, but we did a good enough job. I didn't burn any bridges, and I got referrals from those folks. So truthfully, and guys, I don't mean to just, again, state the obvious, but you just typically have to ask for the referral. and you kind of have to do it in a way that you don't come across like a salesperson. You got to realize the majority of the time these people don't even realize that you are a salesperson. They kind of think you're an admin from the district there to educate them on their retirement. And so I have a few different ways that I ask for referrals. Number one is I just say, gosh, we're on campus. We're here this week and next week. But one of the challenging parts is being able to get in front of all the teachers. I have a staff directory, but sometimes I'm just a face they don't know knocking on the door. Do you have a handful of teachers, even one or two that you're close with that you could introduce me to so I don't just look like a random face poking my head in their classroom? And when you ask it the way, they go, oh my gosh, yeah, come with me. They take me right down the hall to their good friend and say, hey, have you met with the retirement guy? Oh, well, here's Jason. Yeah, he just goes through your pension with you. And so I just kind of do it in a way that, hey, well, one of the challenges with us, we're on campus this week and next week, is getting in front of everybody. And is there any way that you have some teachers you can introduce me to so I'm not just a face poking my head in their classroom, and you can introduce me as the retirement guy from the district, or whatever's easiest. Another way that we've been very successful on getting referrals in the schools, I don't know if you know this, but the average teacher spends about $1,000 a year on supplies for their classroom, on their students, and that money comes out of pocket, which is crazy, isn't it? And so usually on my second appointment, when I'm writing the deal, I'll say, hey, it's kind of been brought to our attention that the majority of teachers spend some money out of pocket every year on supplies. Is that true? And I kind of act like I don't really know, right? I kind of say, now, gosh, we heard that the average teacher spends like over $500 on supplies every year. Is that true? And that gives them a chance to vent a little bit. Oh my gosh, yes, I buy this, I've done this, I buy this, and they kind of go through some of the things that they spend, and then they'll even talk about some of the other teachers that, because they all talk amongst themselves with this and kind of complain to each other. And so I give them a chance to vent a little bit to me. And then I say, well, listen, I can't promise you much. I do have a small budget set aside for just that. is there something in particular that maybe I can get you? Again, it's a small budget, so I can't promise I can get you everything you need, but is there something in particular that I can get you? I did that a while back, and it was a junior high math teacher, and she said pencils. She goes, I go through 8 to 10 pencils a day where the kids show up, they don't have number 2 pencils. So guys, I go to Costco and I buy the $11 5-gallon bucket of pencils, right? And when I go back for the policy delivery, I bring these pencils, and the girl almost tears up. She is like, you would have thought I'd have brought her a brand new laptop. And it was something that she spends her own money on. It had high perceived value, even that cost me $11. And then I say, who else do you know that I can help? Who else have you talked to that is just kind of, having to pour money out of their own pocket? Is there any way you can introduce me to them? So look, it's just there's several different ways of asking. I like to ask in ways where I don't reveal myself as a salesperson. I don't come across like, hey, well, I got your business. Who else can I get? That that type of delivery. Door knocking. Door knocking, and again, I don't even care for it to be called door knocking. I like to call it walk-bys, okay? Because I show up, if I have an appointment at 3:15, I show up on campus at 3:05, and I poke my head in a couple doors. Guys, I like to have a clipboard in my hand. I printed off the staff directory from the school website, so I look real official. And their name is right there on the door, by the way. And, if I have an appointment with Mrs. Jones at 3:15, I show up at 3:05, 10 minutes early, and I poke my head in 2 or 3 doors. And here's what I say. Miss Rodriguez, excuse me. And again, I got to make sure it's an empty classroom. I don't want to do it with students in there. But I'll say, Miss Rodriguez, sorry to bother you. My name's Jason. I do the retirement benefits for the district. I'm here this week and next week doing the pension reviews, your annual pension review. It takes about 10 minutes. I don't have time to do it today. I'm headed to Miss Jones' classroom. But can I come back tomorrow, maybe about the same time, 3:10, 3:15? Guys, 90% of the time they say, oh, yeah, that would work. Now, what is it? The pension review? Okay. So I set that appointment. Guess how much that cost me? Nothing. Now, as you can see on here, it says max 2 to 3 doors. We've had agents that show up on campus and they'll go knock 15 to 20 doors. Well, guess what happens? Yeah, somebody calls the office and says, hey, there's somebody going door to door up here, right? The key is to fly under the radar with this. But I have a goal every time I'm on campus to walk away with 1 appointment. I never run out of appointments, ever, and they're free. I got on campus with a Pera appointment, but now every time I'm on campus, I set an appointment by poking my head in their classroom. Okay. If I do my 3:15 appointment, I'm walking out, at 3:45, and there's a teacher sitting in the classroom about to leave, poke your head in there and just say, hi, Miss Rodriguez, and I've got my clipboard here, right? Hey, I'm on campus for the next 2 weeks doing the annual pension reviews. I don't have you on the calendar yet. What's a good day to do that? They take about 10 to 15. I can come on your prep period before or after school, trying to get everybody the next couple weeks. So again, but number, letter C, 4C, take no for an answer. And you probably never hear sales training where they say, hey, if somebody says no, accept that. Your relationship on campus is much more valuable than that 1 appointment. That's a very important thing to learn. If you poke your head in, hey, Miss Rodriguez, we do the pension reviews. We're here this week and next week. And if they say, no, I think I'm all set. And I'll say, oh, okay. Do you have any questions about your pension? There's some new plans that are available. No, you know what? I'm already working with somebody. Excellent. Well, hey, I'm going to be around campus the next couple of days. If you think of something, you're more than welcome to just stop me, okay? Great. I don't want to try and throw her guy or gal under the bus. I don't want to, because, again, if it turns into an argument, if it turns into you trying to close them on just getting an appointment, they're going to call the office and they're going to say, hey, I told this person I didn't want to meet with them, and they kept going on me. So our relationship in the school is much more important than that one appointment. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a relationship in that school. Eventually, you're going to have 20 or 30 clients in that school, and the word is going to get out what type of person you are, if you're pushy or if you're nice or if you're doing the right thing. And I've had many, many times where the person who didn't really want to meet with me at first, but I didn't push the issue, a year later, when I took lunch in for the whole staff, or I sponsored the staff meeting and I brought donuts in, they set an appointment with me later. And they said, I haven't heard from my person in like 2 years. Would you mind looking at my stuff? Oh, absolutely. So hopefully that helps on getting referrals and generating more activity in the schools. Okay, the next training module is going to be, basically how to do a first appointment, and then I'll talk about how to do a second appointment as well. But I want to spend most of the time on the first appointment, because I assume that if you're ordering these appointments, that you have some experience, that you've written business before. Maybe this is a new market for you, so just trying to shorten your learning curve a little bit. That first appointment, you have to understand that the appointment was set under the premise of a pension review. Every employee of the district has a pension, and it's a phenomenal thing, but pensions are kind of a thing of the past, right? Not many people have pensions anymore. Well, district employees are fortunate enough to still have a pension, but the crazy thing is hardly any of them understand how it works. They know they have a pension, but they don't understand how much they're going to get when they retire. They don't understand how to calculate the benefits on the pension. And so that's how the appointment is set, which makes sense, right? It's a less aggressive marketing angle than to say, hey, who in here is interested in hearing about 403Bs? Well, you're not going to get any response to that. But if we are in a meeting and say, who in here has a pension, and they don't understand how it works, well, everyone raises their hand at that point. And so we're able to get many more appointments. Now, it's not a bait and switch, because guess what we actually do in the first appointment? We review the pension, right? We point out the income gap, and then we tee up the second. Guys, and again, you're going to do what works for you, your personality. Some of you, I'm sure, are better salespeople than me. I've been very successful in this market, and so I'm just going to kind of tell you how I've done it. Again, doesn't mean it's the only way, or maybe there's a better way, but I'm going to show you what works for me, and you can kind of take that information and do what you will with it. So in the first appointment, I do zero selling. Okay, I review the pension, I point out the income gap, and then I fact find. That's it. Review the pension, point out the income gap, and fact find. And then again, tee up the second appointment. So in order to do that, you have to know your state pension, right? But you're going to start out by saying, Ms. Jones, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to go over your retirement. Our goal today is to give you an understanding of what you can expect to receive as income at retirement. Giving you an accurate picture of what you're going to earn through your pension, not only your pension, but 403Bs, 401Ks, IRAs, any other retirement accounts you might even have from a different career. If we can show you what kind of income you're going to receive from those, that'll ensure that there will be no surprises when it's time to start drawing on these accounts. Other than that, is there anything else specifically that you would like to cover in this meeting? It's important that you have an opening statement like this. If you're watching this on a webinar, you should take a screenshot of this, and I would memorize it. And again, put it in your own words. I mean, you saw that I I didn't say that exactly like it's written, but pretty dang close. And you're basically just saying, hey, here's what we plan to go over. We're going to tell you how much money you're going to get from your retirement account, not just your pension, but anything. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? And that's the point where they typically push their stuff across the table to you and go, yeah, I just don't understand how this works. And I saw when I got the email, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to go over this stuff. And, all of a sudden they just tell you exactly what they want. And half the time it's like, yeah, I just needed to start a 403B, or I have this old 403B account. I wanted to have you take a look at it. That's where you find those laydowns that are they're basically telling you what business they want you to write on them. So then moving on, we say, okay, Mrs. Jones, one of the largest benefits about working for the district is the fact that you have a pension. But our experience is, as the retirement benefits providers, is that most people don't really understand the pension and how it works. So let's start with you telling me what you know about the pension. So I put the ball in their court. I say, hey, we want to review the pension. Our understanding is most people don't understand it. What do you understand about it? And they'll usually it's almost always the same. Well, I really don't know much about it. I know it's based off years of service, or I get 2% per year, but I don't really understand what that means. I said, okay, great. Well, and I break out a form similar to this. And guys, this is, again, take a screenshot of it. This is one that I just made myself on a Word doc. And again, it's pretty simple. You can sometimes maybe put the district logo at the top, or something that you feel might give you a little more credibility. But again, name, age, spouse, age. When I ask the spouse's name, I say, oh, okay, what does he or she do for a living? And they'll tell me what job they're doing. And I'm kind of making a mental note of that, because I'm going to talk about maybe seeing if we can meet with the spouse another time as well. And so I let them know as I go through this. I say, okay, well, the pension is based off years of service. And so let's start with your current years of service. Miss Jones, how many years in are you? Okay, you're 16 years in. Okay, projected years of service at retirement. Are you going to make it to 30 years? That's kind of the benchmark. Okay, projected years of service at retirement, 30. Okay, now how the pension works, Miss Jones, is they're going to take a look at the end of your career. They're going to look back over every year that you worked, and they're going to take the 3 highest years, and they're going to average them together. But again, 14 years from now, we don't know what you're going to be making. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the pension based off today's salary. And again, it's going to be a little less than what you're actually going to get, but cost of living will be more at that time too. So it kind of gives you an accurate picture of expenses versus income, what you'll get. So what's your current annual salary, Miss Jones? Okay, $51,000. Excellent. So here's how it works. Total years of service at retirement, which will be 30. Here in the state of Utah, since you were hired prior to 2011, you're on tier 1. So you get a 2% multiplier. So we take 30 years times 2 equals 60%. 60% of, and they go back over your whole career. They take the 3 highest years and average them together. Again, since we don't know what that's going to be, I'm going to show you what it would be if you retired today. So 60% of 51,000. I kind of pull out my calculator. I make that same joke. I should be able to do this math in my head, right? 51,000 times 60% is $30,300 or $30,600, right? $30,300 is the retirement benefit. And then just in my head, real quick, I do the subtraction. Okay, she's used to making $50,000. The pension's going to pay her $30,000, and so I write in the income gap right here. And I just say, Miss Jones, good news and bad news. Good news is you have a pension, so 60% of your retirement is already taken care of for you. Before you do anything, You're already 60% of the way up the mountain, right? The bad news is you're used to making 50,000 and the pension's only going to pay you 30. So that's what we call an income gap. And in your case, it's about $20,000 a year. Now, Ms. Jones, if you had to take a $20,000 pay cut per year right now, could you do it? And what do you think they say? Oh my gosh, of course not. No. And they'll kind of start talking. I mean, I'm just getting by as it is, and I couldn't take a $20,000 pay cut. Well, listen, the district and the state understand that most people can't retire at 60% of what they need to live on. And so that's why we have other plans such as 403Bs and supplemental retirement plans to help you fill that income gap. Have you been doing anything like that? Do you have anything in place? You've been teaching for 14 years? Have you been contributing to any other plans? All right, so what did I do? I just went through the pension. I pointed out the income gap. Now I opened the door for me to talk about 403Bs, life insurance, supplemental retirement, past income, other retirement plans. Now it just turns into fact-finding, things that you guys have already done. So I went in there, I did what the appointment said we were going to do. I review the pension, I point out the income gap. They may ask me some questions like, oh yeah, what if I want to buy extra years? Or, maybe I took a sabbatical and I was off for 3 years. How does that affect my pension? And those are things that you need to study and you need to know. But all of a sudden I got to the income gap, and now the door is open that I can now talk about 403Bs. And instead of the focus being on the $30,000 a year that she is getting, all we need to focus on now is the $20,000 a year that she's giving up at retirement. And how are we going to replace that income? Now, again, no selling. All right, no selling in the first appointment. Let's say she says, yeah, okay, I have a 403B. Okay, great. I start writing it off to the side. And look, if you have a fact finder, if you have an actual fact finder that you use, great. Use that. I actually have one that I use too. And as I write in 403B, you've had it for 10 years. I'm writing this down. How much are you contributing on a monthly basis? Excellent. What company is that with? Oh, it's with AXA. Great, great company. You've had it for 10 years. You've been putting in $300 a month. Do you have any idea on the balance? Okay, they'll tell me the balance in there. And I'll say, okay, great. Any other retirement plans? Guys, all I'm doing is fact finding, right? She just told me she has $52,000 in a 403B. And I say, okay, great. What else do you have? Did you have a career prior to teaching? Do you have any IRAs or 401ks? And again, Ms. Jones, I'm just trying to give you an idea of what you can expect to receive at retirement. Oh yeah, before I got into teaching, I did 5 years at an accounting firm, and I had a 401k there. And okay, have you done anything? Is it still at that company, or did you roll that into an IRA? And they'll just start telling you the information that they have. Now here's a very important question. So Ms. Jones, on this AXA account, I know you've been paying in for $300 a month for 10 years. Do you have any idea how much that account's actually going to pay you at retirement? How much income you're going to be able to draw from it annually? What's the answer to that question 100% of the time? No. Okay, great. Would you like me to figure that out for you? What's the answer to that question 100% of the time? Yes. Ms. Jones, you have this account. Great job. You've been paying in. The balance is growing. Do you have any idea how much this account's going to yield at retirement? How much income you're going to be able to take from it? No. Would you like me to figure that out for you? Yeah. Hey, by the way, the district, you've had this for 10 years. The district has approved some new plans, a little less fees, guaranteed returns. Some of the plans even have like a 5% bonus on every contribution. Would you like me to see if there's an upgrade available for you as well? What's the answer 100% of the time? Yes. All right, Ms. Jones, let me go back to the office. I'm going to research all the district-approved plans, and I'm going to come back with a couple options for you. If there's an upgrade available, something that makes a little more sense, then we'll get that taken care of, okay? Great. That's how I tee up the second. I mean, I literally just told her in the second appointment, I'm going to see if there's an upgrade. If there is, I'll come back and we'll get that taken care of. If they don't have anything, again, I say the same thing. I just went through the pension. We point out the income gap, and I say, have you been doing anything? And she says, no, I don't have anything. I've never contributed to anything. And I'll say, Miss Jones, if you don't mind me asking, is there a reason you haven't contributed? You've taught for 14 years. Would you say it's because the district hasn't shown you any options? There's a little bit of uncomfortable, right? I kind of backed her into a corner by saying, gosh, how come you haven't been contributing? But then I instantly give her a bailout. Would you say it's because the district hasn't really been proactive in showing you your options? And they go instantly, they go, yeah, I just didn't know what was out there. All right, Ms. Jones, let me do this. I'm going to go back to the office. I'm going to research all the district-approved plans based off your age and years of service, see where we can't get you the best bang for the buck, okay? And then I'll come back on Friday with a couple options, and whichever one fits the best will get you enrolled. Does that make sense? Yeah, that sounds good. So that's the approach that we take in the first appointment. Again, no selling. I might drop a few pieces of cheese, right? I'm kind of dangling the cheese in front of them when I say, hey, the district has some new plans with less fees and guaranteed returns and maybe even a bonus on contributions. There might be an upgrade out there from the plan you have. Let me see if I can find one. Would you be interested in that? Well, of course. Everybody wants the upgraded plan. Okay, so then we have to actually go back and do case design. Now, guys, and I'm going to fly through this because in the 45-minute boot camp webinar, I go through what you find in the schools individually, and I spend more time on it. But really, you only find three things. Number one is you find somebody that has a pension and nothing else. And what do? You start a plan, an IUL or a 403B. The second thing you find in the school is somebody that has a pension and they're currently contributing to a 403B. What do we do with that client? We upgrade their 403B to our plan, and we just divert the contribution from their old plan to our plan. And then the third thing you find in the school is somebody that has a pension and an old retirement account, like an old 403B from another district, an IRA from a previous career, a 401k, something like that they're not paying into anymore. What are we going to do there? Again, upgrade that. We might put it into a 403B because you can move 401ks, IRAs, any qualified funds, you can roll those into the 403B, and then through payroll deduction, they can start contributing again. So those are the three things that you find in the schools, and then that sets up that second appointment. Now, the second appointment, again, I'm not going to spend much time on this because I just assume that you guys have actually closed life products or annuities before. Something that you need to do in the second appointment, though, is you need to review the pension again. You need to break out that pension review sheet, and you need to point out the income gap. You need to remind them why they're wanting to do the 403B. Why are we doing this other business? Because they forgot. I promise. It all made sense in the first appointment because you pointed out the income gap. You made it emotional. They're not going to have enough money to retire. Geez, if I had to take a $20,000 pay cut today, I couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, they were like, yes, everything you said made sense in the first appointment. Well, guess what happens when you come back in the second appointment? They forgot it all. So you've got to go through it again. And I say, hey, listen, just to kind of recap what we went over last Wednesday, I just want to show you again what we talked about and where we go from here. Remember your pension, it's based off years of service. You're going to get 2% per year. If it was based off today's income, you would get $30,000. That's $20,000 less than what you need to live on, correct? Remember how we talked about if you had to take that cut and pay today, how would you survive? Yeah, and we bring that emotion back. And then I pull out the fact finder. Now, you mentioned that you had a 403B with AXA. By the way, I didn't mention the first appointment. I asked him to bring the statement. Okay. And so, in that second appointment, did you bring the statement from AXA? Even if they didn't bring it, it's okay. We can call AXA. We're going to call them anyway. But they bring out that statement, and the first thing I look for is basically, how's it doing? Have they made money in it? Sometimes the fees are mapped out, sometimes they're not. But 90% of the time, it's a variable annuity. And so I'm instantly looking for fees. I'm looking for parentheses, right? Parentheses meaning they lost money on it. And I say, well, listen, this has been a good plan. You've had it for 10 years. Let's do this, though. Let's go ahead and call AXA real quick. And we'll just find out what type of fees you're paying, what type of returns you're getting on this. And then we'll show you the plan that looks like it's an upgrade. And we'll kind of compare apples to apples and see which one's the best fit, okay? We call AXA. And, of course, the client has to give authorization for them to answer questions and talk to you. But the first thing I ask, I like to just do a T-chart. I do a simple T-chart. Fees, on the left side with AXA. Can you tell us what the fees are? And, yeah, there's an M&E fee, and, each one of the sub-accounts has fees. And, so it all adds up to about 2.85 or maybe 3% on an annual basis. And guys, if you do it right, I have them tell me the fee for each one of the sub-accounts and the admin fee and the M&E fee. And pretty soon you're writing down 6 or 7 fees there, and the client is starting to get livid. They're like, what? I'm paying all these fees? And then I say, well, let me ask you this. This account, do they have any guarantees against loss? If the market or if these sub-accounts take a loss, is there any guarantee that she's not going to lose money in this account? There's not? Okay, great. Again, you're being friendly. We're not trying to throw the company under the bus. We're just asking these questions. By the way, does she get any? She's doing $300 a month. She's been doing that for 10 years. Does she get any kind of bonus or match on contributions? She doesn't? Okay. Is there a surrender charge on this account? If she decided to move this to a different company, what would be the actual surrender amount? Okay, and then they'll tell you. And then the last thing is, would you guys accept your own transfer paperwork only, or will you accept the transfer paperwork of the new company if she moves it? Guys, if that call is made right, usually as soon as you hang up, they go, yeah, get me out of that. and then we break out our plan and show, little to no fees unless we attach an income rider, guaranteed returns, right? Maybe depending on your carrier and the product, an upfront bonus on contributions. And it's very, very easy sale. If they didn't have anything, I bring them a couple options, maybe a 403B, maybe an IUL, and I do the A or B close. Which one makes more sense to you, A or B? If you've ever been to the optometrist, you've been to the eye doctor before, they put that big thing over you and say, which is better, A or B? A or B? Which one's clear? I do the same thing with a client. Which one is better? Which one makes more sense, A or B? I don't care which way they go. If they prefer the startup annuity or an IUL, or maybe I bring back 2 different annuities, both inside the 403B, either way, I walk out of there having set the client up on a plan. Okay. Gosh, I think that's about it for first and second appointments. The more you run, the better you're going to get. I would recommend practice the pension review over and over and over again before you actually do it in front of a client. Okay. The next training module is paperwork. We're going to take a little break. Okay, the next training module is paperwork. Guys, this is probably one of the most tedious parts of writing business in the schools is, the different all the different things you have to fill out, especially on transfers. So what I've done is I just put together the types of business that we write in the schools and what paperwork you have to do. The first thing is if you write an IUL or any life policy, you just have to fill out the application for the company you wrote it for, and that's it. Nothing to do with the district. The contributions are post-tax, so they're not coming out of payroll. Most of the carriers that I write with have EAPs, and so if I write a life policy, it's just an EAP. If I meet with a client who doesn't have anything or I'm going to write a startup 403B, so an annuity, then I have to do the app for the carrier that I'm writing, and then I have to do a SRA, that stands for Salary Reduction Agreement. You have to just think this through and say, okay, the money's going to National Life Group or Midland or Voya or Horace Mann or Great American or whoever you're writing with, but how's the money going to come? It's got to come out of their paycheck. So that means I have to turn something in for the district office, and that's called a salary reduction agreement. Again, I'm sorry, this training I can't be as specific as I would like to because every district in the country is a little bit different. They have their own SRAs. So you have to contact the payroll department of that district and let them know that you're one of the approved 403B vendors and you have a client that would like to start a 403B. How do I turn on the salary reduction? Do you have a paper form? Is it done online? You just have to contact the district office and find out how to turn in a salary reduction agreement. And if it's a paper form, you'll want to get about 100 of them and keep them in your bag. All right. And then every time you write a deal, you just get that filled out and then take it down to the district office. A transfer. The next thing is a transfer. If it's going to be a flex premium annuity, so it's not a single premium. I'm doing a flex premium annuity. I have to fill out the EAP of the company I'm moving the money to. I have to fill out an SRA because the money's going to be, their monthly contribution is going to be taken out of their paycheck. Every district in the country is overseen by a TPA or a third-party administrator. They require their own set of transfer paperwork on 403B transfers, okay? Anything that's going into a 403B. If you're moving it from a 403B to something outside the district, you don't need that. But if it's staying in a 403B or you're moving it from outside the district into the district 403B, you have to fill out the TPA transfer document. And it's usually on their website. You just got to find out who the TPA is for that district. You can usually find that out by contacting the carrier. So if I'm writing with National Life Group, I can call them and say, hey, who's the TPA for this district? And then right on their website is the transfer document. And then, of course, the existing carrier doc. So if I'm moving money from, say, Voya, then I would need the form from Voya to release the form. So again, that's 4 things: the EAP, the salary reduction agreement, the TPA transfer document, and the document from Voya or the existing carrier. And then the last thing is a transfer to a single premium annuity. It's basically the same thing, except for I don't need an SRA, right? Because it's a single premium. They're not going to be continually making premium payments. So I don't need to fill out anything for the district to take money out of their paycheck. I said earlier, if you're moving money into the district plan, you're moving it into a 403B, whether it's from another 403B or from an IRA or anything outside, you have to have that TPA transfer form. If you're moving it from the 403B to an outside plan like an IRA, you don't need it. Okay, that was the training module on paperwork. Okay, the next training module is how to create a relationship in the district. And this actually would go kind of hand in hand on campus etiquette. How we act in the schools plays a large part in how we build a relationship in the district. And one of the best things you can do to create a relationship in the district is be seen. Be seen, be friendly. Whenever I deliver my SRAs, my salary reduction agreements, I don't fax them in. I don't scan them and email in. Guess what I do? I might have 5 or 6 of them. I drive down to the district office. I go in the payroll department. And again, yeah, I have to sign in. It maybe takes an hour out of my day driving down there, signing in. But I go in and I meet the people in the district payroll department. I introduce myself. I again, I try and get to know them. I remember their names. Um, Again, I build rapport with the people in the district office. So they like me. They know who I am. And then guess what happens? 3 or 4 days later, I come back with 3 or 4 more. Look, they're not used to that. They're not used to seeing a lot of business written. That's what's crazy is I'll go in and I'll deliver 8 to 10 SRAs in a week sometimes, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, Jason, you're back. Hey." And then I'll sit in there for 10 minutes and just kind of cut up with them and form that relationship. That's on a district level. Look, the same relationship happens in the schools. Be seen. Go in and meet the people in the district office. Let them know that you're assigned to that school and that you're going to be there. Because, guys, you really have to have that mindset that this is a long-term relationship. You're going to become the person for that school. You're going to become the retirement person for that school. You're going to get 30, 40% penetration in that school. You're going to have, out of the 100 employees, 30 or 40 of them are going to be your client. Every year there's about a 10% turnover. So again, that new 8, 9, 10 employees, people are like, "Oh, have you met with Jason yet? Yeah, he's a retirement guy. You need to meet with him." And when I sponsor a staff meeting and I bring in food, I bring in lunch, I do things like that where all of a sudden I grow roots in that school. So, and guys, it's impossible to work more than about 8 to 10 schools the right way. When you become the person for that school, you form relationships and you spend time there. You don't have time to work more than 8 to 10 schools in your entire career in this market. So, this is a short training module, but be seen, be friendly, do the right thing, sponsor, anything you can give back to the district. If they have like a book drive or a clothing drive or a blood drive, I mean, see if you can be one of the sponsors, see if you can be there, have your name on their flyers. I just do everything I can to be seen on campus because look, that will, anything that you put into the schools, it returns to you 10 times. Okay. Doing things the right way, never ever causing an argument in the schools. If somebody said no, then again it's no, and hey, let me know. I'm here all the time. So if you have other questions, feel free to stop me. Never burning a bridge with anyone, because that one bridge will spread to 25 other people by the time you get back for your second appointment with somebody else. I've seen it happen. But again, when I bring supplies in to clients, that forms, that you don't know how fast word spreads throughout the school. When all of a sudden a teacher walks in and they saw that 5-gallon bucket of pencils that I brought, they're like, "Where did you get that? Oh my gosh. Oh, the retirement guy brought that for me. Have you not met with him? He's awesome." It just spreads quickly. So creating a relationship in the schools is absolutely vital to not be the type of person that goes in and writes one deal and then has to go to the next school. We grow roots there and become the retirement person for that district. Okay, the next training module is overcoming objections. Look, I've been in the industry a long time. I've sold just about every type of policy that you can imagine, and every type of lead has been generated through different channels. I've run them all. There are not very many objections that come up in this market because of the approach we take. And if you listen to the first and second appointment module, you'll see, I mean, there just aren't. There's a lot of questions that come up about retirement in general and the pension and some of the plans, but they're not objections. Some of the things that maybe come up, and I just kind of put these together, is just, number one is, well, how are you paid? Right? Well, how do you get paid on this deal? Well, the good news is we aren't paid by you. None of the money that we're paid actually comes out of your account. Instead, we receive our compensation directly from the companies that we work with, the carriers that the district approves. So this is the way that our service, that way our services are free to you. That's how I say that, literally verbatim. Well, the good news is we don't get paid by you. None of the money that we get paid comes out of your account. Instead, we receive the compensation directly from the companies that are approved by the district. So this way, our services are free to you. One that comes up all the time, guys, all the time. Now, you're from the district, right? We sat down, we went through, they're excited, they love the thing, and then all of a sudden, especially maybe you come back for that second appointment. Because what probably happened was they went home and talked to their spouse, or maybe they talked to another teacher who said, wait a minute, what? The district has, that person's not from the district. Well, then you come back for the second appointment and they'll say, now, Jason, you're from the district, right? Well, actually, Miss Jones, the district doesn't hire people to come in here and educate you on your retirement. What they do is they approve a few individuals like myself to do it, and there's only a couple of us for the whole district. So this is one of the schools that I'm assigned to. It's important that you answer that question right. If they say you're from the district, what's the answer to that question? The answer is no, I'm not from the district. But if I say no, but the district approved, it doesn't matter. You already said no. Okay. So again, I'll go through this. Now, you're from the district, right, Jason? Well, actually, the district doesn't, they don't hire people to come in and talk to you about your retirement. What they do is they approve a few individuals like myself to do it. There's only a few of us for the whole district, and I'm assigned to your school. So that's why you see me around here. Best way to overcome objections is, number one, believe what you're selling. Guys, I can't tell you how many agents I've seen over the years that I've trained with that they don't do well, or they get a ton of objections because they're objections that they currently have in their own mind, right? So write products on yourself. Become a believer in these products. Have your own indexed annuity. Have your own IUL. So you can actually say, hey, these products are what I have. Exactly. Empathy, not sympathy, right? If somebody says, oh my gosh, it's not a good time, maybe I could do something next year, sympathy is, oh, I totally understand. Okay, I'll try back in a year, right? What is empathy? Empathy is, I understand, but I understand. I understand that money's tight, or the holidays are coming up. But Ms. Jones, I've been doing this a long time, and I can just tell you, you cannot reverse time, right? If we could go back 5 years and get this plan started for you, man, we would. But the longer you wait, the more you push it off, chances are it's never going to happen. Let me tell you about my last client. Was in a similar situation from you. Go through and talk about, oh, my last client was almost in the same situation. I met with her, and again, when she wasn't able to get something started, it was 2 years later we finally got a plan started, and she just said, oh my gosh, I wish I would have got this started years ago. Feel, felt, found, right? Well, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me tell you what I found out. That's real similar to my last client. Let me tell you about my last client. It was in a real similar situation than you. Again, I don't ever want you to burn a bridge, but you have to remember, you're doing a bigger favor for these teachers or these employees than they are for you. You're getting them set up on a retirement plan that they're going to be able to use. If you don't press the issue, if you don't try and overcome an objection and get that application filled out, um, that they're not going to have enough money to retire on. And so you've really got to get it in your mind that way. It isn't about you making the sale or the commission you're going to make from it. That's going to happen anyway. The one place where there's more business than you can even write is in the school district. And so that one deal doesn't matter. What matters is that teacher's not contributing to retirement unless you do your job the right way. So guys, I think, yeah, that was the last. I'm just looking to see if there's any questions on here. That's the last overcoming objections training module.